Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. What's up guys, Altcoin Sherpa here with the Crypto Market Review. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not an expert, do your own research. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about what comes next. What is the recovery going to look like? What's an overall macro view, etc. The last time I did one of these videos, I was grossly incorrect. I thought that everything would bounce and then like everything would be okay. But the overall macro stuff has proven to be way too strong of a overall impact on crypto. And I also want to preface too in saying that doing any sort of macro analysis is probably going to be really difficult, or any prediction, because in the sense that I don't know exactly what the when the bottom is going to happen, or even necessarily what it's going to look like for sure. Like, you know, I have an idea of what I think it's going to look like, but again, like there's so many macro forces at play here. So I'm just going to basically use some historical context of what charts look like at the bottom and then kind of go from there. But to be clear, as I said, everything really depends on equities. It depends on macro. There's so many other big factors going on right now with regards to war and rate hikes and inflation. And, there just seems to be a new thing every single week. So again, I don't really know what when or really what the bottom is exactly is going to look like, of course, but this is kind of like a video that is going to talk about what could happen. Okay, so historically speaking, Bitcoin obviously has gone like 80% or something like that from the bottom, 80 something percent from the bottom, top to the bottom every time. I'm not really going to look too much at these old 2016 charts, 2014 charts, just because I think contextually the market's changed quite a bit and since that time, and obviously it's changed quite a bit since 2018 as well, but it still seems a little bit more relevant from 2018 to now versus 2014. Okay, so this is the Bitfinex 1 week chart on the weekly for Bitcoin USD. And what does a bottom look like? So we've had two big bottoms that have happened really since 2016, 2017. And obviously the big infamous run up for 2017, where this was this parabolic move up, followed by a swift downtrend that lasted. Swift downtrend that went from 20K to 6K. It formed that 6K floor for many months, and then price fell through from 6K to 3K, and then it accumulated for quite some time. So generally speaking, and you might want to look at my other video, market bottoms, the market will bottom in generally one of two ways. Number one, it'll be a long accumulation period, and accumulation can look like a lot of different things as well. It can look like what you see here, where it's just very tight candles, little volatility, not much volume, not much going on, lots of chop. And it can look like this, or it can look like a V-shaped bottom, which is much less, it's much less common for Bitcoin from what I've seen in the charts. This obviously happened, was a perfect storm for a lot of reasons. Number one, many people got liquidated on this move down. The overall COVID money printing situation was happening. Everybody's inside, and this recovery overall was just incredibly crazy to see, contextually. So as I said, there's one of two different ways that price usually recovers. Traditionally, I believe personally that the accumulation kind of route is more common, and that's kind of the one that I'm currently looking at and viewing for this current scenario. I think that accumulation is going to happen. I don't believe that there's going to be a significant amount of money printing, but I have read some macro stuff the last few weeks that potentially they could come back on, But if they don't come on, then I do think that we're going to see price action similar to 2018, like the end of 2018, early 2019, where price just kind of chopped around and did nothing for quite some time. I think you had from the start of it to the end, it was 3 to 4 months or something like that. So this is the type of price action where As I said, very choppy, very low volume, low volatility. And this type of price action, it's very interesting to note that these usually occur after like a big market nuke. And you can kind of see this as well in the May 2021 situation as well. I can go to that chart after this. But generally speaking, you need some big move to the downside for this accumulation to start. Like, for instance, and it's not every time, but like, you generally won't see something like this where it just like bleeds down and then it like accumulates. Generally, you'll see some sort of bleeding and then like one last final capitulation move, and then you'll see like kind of this accumulation start. So one of my like kind of ideas for this current like big picture view of Bitcoin was I was really waiting for this kind of big move to come, and I don't know what it's going to look like personally, but I still think it's going to come. So for instance, and like, okay, so backtracking a little bit, this is what I was talking about here, where price accumulated in May, June, and July, and it came after a big move here, where price just had this big market nuke, lots of leverage wiped out of the system, people got liquidated, and then we began the accumulation period. So again, this accumulation period can kind of look differently, and generally speaking, the longer that price accumulates in a range, the more explosive the move after. And that's one important thing that I actually learned in 2021 was that price didn't really even though price hit all-time highs, it didn't really truly have time to accumulate, especially if you look back at the charts of 2020, where much of 2020 was really spent in accumulation mode. So you saw these long stretches, and this is also partially why altcoins did so well, is because price for Bitcoin really didn't do a whole lot. We saw these like long periods of accumulation where price just chopped around, had a relatively tight moves overall relative to what we're used to, especially the last 6 months that we're used to. Lots of people got liquidated on this move down, and then lots of 2020 was just spent in this chopping, like tight range overall, right? It was just kind of like, not much going on in the situation. And obviously altcoins were allowed to flourish. But most importantly, this was just more accumulation. So obviously we had this V-shaped reversal followed by lots and lots of accumulation 2020, which is why we had such an explosive move in 2021. Now, like as I said, like we didn't really have that for this move here, and that's why I was like a little bit confused as to why we didn't go higher, but it's because we didn't have these accumulation periods like what we saw back in 2020. So, if price had chopped around here for quite a little bit longer, another move up, and then like more chopping around, then at that point, I think it would have been more sustainable to get to 100K. But because of all the macro factors, because of everything else, we really didn't see that. So where are we at right now? Like, and what does the bottom look like? As I said before, I think that I'm really looking for one last big move down. And I don't know if it's going to look like we got plenty of bear market rallies in the past in 2018. So here's a good example here, like a bear market rally. So we saw this move up, and then price comes down, again move up, price comes back down, and again move up, price comes back down. Like, every time that we see like the 6K to like 8K move or something, like we're like, oh my god, the bottom is in, like it's all going back up. But in reality, these were all just like lower highs all across the board, and obviously price, we know what happens next. Price nuked lower. So what is this current price action here? I don't think this is a reversal quite yet, because I think this is just another bear market rally. It wouldn't surprise me to see something like, as I said before, most people know my bias. I think that price does go up to like 28K before potentially going lower. It just makes just like that area is just an interesting one to observe. It's a clear SR level in my opinion. And then it wouldn't surprise me at all to see price make new lows. I don't know what the absolute bottom is. And to be clear, like I don't think anybody does, and it's really going to depend on macro, as I said. I think that potential new lows are absolutely in the book, like potentially there. I personally think that at a very minimum, we're going to see 17K at a very minimum again. And the reason is just that I think that there's just too much liquidity down there. And I think that like macro still has a little bit of ways to go from the bottom or for the bottom. And then if you ask yourself at that point too, what are some key levels? I think I've marked them before in the past, but 14K is a very important level. This weekly close at 16K is an interesting one, and there is a lot of confluence at this 11.7K, 12K area, where you can clearly see that it was resistance for a long time. Price was resistance there in July of 2019, and it didn't even reach that point up until the end of 2020. So for like an entire year and a half, pretty much, it just basically traded. It traded below from like this June 2019 all the way to this October 2020 time period. So this would be a clear SR level if price gets really bad. But again, I think that one of these three levels is probably going to be the bottom. I just don't know what. If things get truly, truly terrible, then maybe we see like 9K. But I don't personally see that quite yet. But you never say never. That's one thing about this downtrend is that it's really humbled a lot of traders, myself included. And you always expect the unexpected. So what am I really looking for right now? I don't know if this is like how high this is going to go, this bear market rally. It could go all the way up to like, who knows, maybe like this 35K area for all we know. Don't know what it's going to look like. I do believe that at a minimum we do hit 17K again though. And I do believe one of these four levels provides some support. Now, what is it going to look like for me personally? I think that, maybe we hit some sort of lower high and then we start to like dump lower. And then what you want to see at this point is you want to see a lot of volatility right at the start of right at the kind of bottom of the dump, where there's like tons and tons of volatility where price will move like 25% or 50% in like very short ticks, and people getting liquidated, people like shorting the hell out of the bottom, all those getting absorbed. If you look at any sort of bottom structure, you'll see that like there's the most amount of volatility right at the start of it, and this is like very common where you see big wicks in both directions, high volume, etc., and then you start to see a calming period after. So you'll see, for instance, price chop, big market nuke, insane amount of volatility, both directions, crazy wicks, and then you'll start to see like a small cooling period where price slowly recovers, low volatility, low volume, etc. So that's still kind of my overall plan of looking to see what's going to happen with Bitcoin. And I think that it's pretty important to note too that historically speaking, Bitcoin has led the recovery. So for instance, like you generally don't want to see like Ethereum or other altcoins like leading a recovery, meaning you don't want to see like altcoins moving super strongly and Bitcoin just like doing nothing in like the context of a massive downtrend. Especially like alt BTC pairs. Like for instance, like alt BTC pairs, they all got smashed in 2019. Whereas even though Bitcoin was doing really well, there wasn't as many alt USD pairs, and you could only trade in alt BTC pairs back then. So like a lot of these alt BTC pairs, like the worst is when you see alt USD go down and then also Bitcoin go up, because the alt BTC pairs just go like way down. And that's really what you saw in 2019 too, where you saw even though Bitcoin had this nice rally from basically 3K to like 14K, alt BTC pairs really died, and that's pretty common, I think too. Like especially that's what you want to see initially, where Bitcoin leads the recovery. Same thing for 2020, where Bitcoin, like a lot of altcoins that got really fucking wrecked on this big move down, and then Bitcoin was recovering, and altcoins actually recovered really strongly. Obviously during this kind of summertime, this summer of 2020. That's when altcoins really did very, very well. So let's take a quick brief look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. The Bitcoin dominance chart is really just the overall. This is like Bitcoin's percentage of the overall total crypto market cap, and this is a important chart, but it's not super. In my opinion, I don't know if it's as relevant as it used to be, given how many altcoins are in the system right now and how prominent dexes are and everything like that. But historically in the past, Bitcoin was like pretty, like this was an important chart. And generally speaking, when you want to look at this chart, if you want altcoins to flourish, you want Bitcoin dominance to go down, and that's what we saw back in 2020, where Bitcoin dominance here was at 72% back in September 2019, and slowly bled down at that point. Obviously, 2020 we saw like another big market top for Bitcoin dominance, and as I said before, Bitcoin dominance is basically Bitcoin's share of the entire market. So if you're an altcoin trader, you want to see Bitcoin dominance go down. That's the better thing, because it means your altcoins are gaining more value relative to Bitcoin. And this chart is really better for alt BTC pairs as well. So what are we seeing overall? Like, we saw like a lot of really good moves for altcoins. Obviously, it went from 70% all the way back down to like 39%. And that's like a huge significant move. This is why altcoins did so well, especially in the first bit of 2021. And since that time, like, we have seen, like, this is that May dump where, obviously we all remember the dump from 60 to 30K. And we all remember that basically altcoins got fucking wrecked during that time period. And even though this has been an overall choppy period, there have been a lot of altcoins that have flourished. You just had to pick the right ones and actually rotate and be a trader during this time period, i.e. like Layer 1, Solana, Luna, AVAX, those did all really great. Metaverse stuff like Sand, Mana, those all did great. Axie Infinity did great. ZK rollup coins like Dusk did great. So you really had to kind of pick and choose what type of environment to trade in and what type of specific coins. Like, for instance, you couldn't just like long like RSR, like reserve rights, or you couldn't just long like Uniswap token during this time period. Just like it just wasn't a good trade relative to the market. So what I'm trying to say is that even though this has been accumulating, there have been some good alts that did well, but overall as a whole, the entire altcoin market has been kind of just in this long kind of accumulation period. Accumulation period for Bitcoin dominance, that is. And that's actually not a good thing for altcoins. This index is actually a little bit hard in general to chart, so it might not even have much use. But I personally see maybe altcoins having like a little bit more of a run potentially. Not that maybe it won't go this long. It won't go till October, in my opinion. Maybe we see altcoins do a little bit better, and then I think that it's really going to depend after that. Like, if Bitcoin starts to mega dump, then I think that all the value is going to go back to Bitcoin, and then especially alt BTC pairs are going to get really wrecked. And I think that, another aspect of this too is that, like, altcoins have done really well in the short term, and I think a lot of that is just due to ETH BTC. ETH BTC has been very, very strong the last few weeks. A lot of it due to fundamental analysis, like the merge coming up. So, there are some catalysts in general to look for in these situations, but I think that, you don't really necessarily want to see altcoins leading the charge. Like, for instance, ETH USD is leading. You don't really want to see that on like a total macro recovery, which is why I don't think this is the absolute bottom personally. And like, to be clear, even though it doesn't have to be the absolute bottom either, like these are still very good trading opportunities. Like, many altcoins have gone 2x, 3x, 4x from the bottom, but they still potentially could hit new lows. So what am I saying here overall? I'm saying that I think that altcoins could have a little bit more of a short-term good little run here, but then ultimately I do believe that Bitcoin is going to capture more value, and eventually probably going to, especially if Bitcoin like dumps further down to like say 16K, then I think this chart goes like it. I think that Bitcoin dominance definitely goes higher. I definitely think that 50 to 54% is quite possible in that situation, and in that case, all BTC pairs are going to get wrecked, and alt USD pairs probably wrecked as well. So it's important to note too that, like, just because you're up in dollars doesn't mean you're up in Satoshis. So, like, if your alt BTC pair is going down but your alt USD pair is going up, you would have been better off holding Bitcoin. And that's the important thing to understand too, is that like, even though you might be making money in altcoins, like your your overall Bitcoin stack will be going down, and in a lot of situations on this recovery, I think that Bitcoin will probably be a leader over altcoins on the recovery. Now, that's not to say that altcoins are just like a bad investment. Like, well, yeah, most of them are, to be frank and honest with you. But it's important to probably just denote your portfolio in Bitcoin or Ethereum. But there will be some windows like now where altcoins do flourish and do very well. So what's my overall strategy right now? My overall strategy right now is to go ahead and basically wait and keep trading this opportunity here. I'm already long ApeCoin and a few others. And I'm definitely not holding it. I'm definitely going to cut it soon. My overall plan is to basically trade now until Bitcoin gets to like 28K. And then once it gets to 28K, that's when I think I'm going to like cut a lot of my stuff and really just observe. And, you know, maybe we see something like this where price grinds up 28K, and then I'm going to cut a lot of my stuff. And then if we hit new lows, then I'm basically just buying Bitcoin and Ethereum, because I think those are the only two that are really quite quote unquote safe at this time. There are going to be really good discounted alts, and I'm really looking at a lot of DeFi coins right now too for those situations. But I really want to see what altcoins are going to survive this big move. Like, for instance, if you're trading like the 200th ranked coin or whatever, like, and you're trying to like accumulate that's totally fine. But you don't know what type of coins are going to make it out alive, especially if Bitcoin makes new lows. It's like 16K or 15K, whatever it is. Then like, or even like if it comes back down to like 17K, you know, like this is the bottom. Maybe this is the bottom. I don't know. Maybe price comes back down to that area and then just bounces. Even if it goes there, then you don't know what altcoins are going to make it out alive. And what I mean by make it out alive is like there are plenty of 2018, 2017 coins that are just kind of like ghost communities and just ghost tokens that, you know, there's really not many users left, not many people in the community. These types of tokens that we're seeing now, that we've seen in 2020 and 2021, a lot of those tokens are going to be like that, in my opinion. So we're going to see a lot of these kind of communities slowly die, and new tech, new communities, new narratives are going to take over. Personally, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So really, Bitcoin and Ethereum are the only two that I really want to look at. All PCC pairs go down. So, you know, as I said, better to hold Bitcoin. And then at that point, I'm going to flip my Bitcoin for a lot of those altcoins and start to accumulate altcoins. Hopefully by like maybe we see something like early next year, maybe like that's at that point we start to see some sort of bottoming happening. Don't know, as I said, what the timeline is going to look like, but yeah, those are kind of my overall thoughts. So thanks so much for watching this video. I was very wrong on the last prediction, so let's hope I'm not so wrong this time. And thank you so much for the support.